Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's tapping session. Today we are tapping on something a little bit different than what I usually gear my topics around, which is more around beliefs and thoughts and mindset and um, settling our emotions and spirituality. And today we are going to tap on something super basic, super simple that is something that every single day has to be done. And usually, as a mom, it falls on our plate. And it's kind of one of those things that we're just super annoyed with doing. It's the dishes. And so I got this idea to do some tapping around the most basic, things that are on our to do list, the most simple things that we have to do every day. They need to be done. It's a necessity, but it also creates a little bit of irritation and angst and just like friction in our day because we don't want to do these things sometimes when we know that they are never ending and that we have to turn around and do them all over again later that day. Um, Stuff that we need to do around the house and home. But there's some angst around it, there's some tension and tightness around it, and so sometimes we need to handle the most basic things before we can jump to bigger things to handle. And so I thought it would be kind of interesting to do some tapping around these basic to-do lists, the things that we have as moms in our day-to-day lives, and just to see if we can create a little bit of space, a little bit of a reframe around how we show up to do these boring regular things that we kind of probably get pissed off at doing, and to see if there's anything deeper there, or just to see if we can shift the energy a little bit so that when we go to do these things, it's not putting like dampening our day, it's not putting pressure on our day, it's not creating more tightness and more anger and irritation and triggering and all the rest of that stuff, right? Like we if we can come at these regular things with a little bit more lightness, a little bit more neutral, a little bit more indifferent sometimes, and not let it put a cloud over our head or contribute to the cloud that's already over our head. I do feel like these basic things, if we can do them without letting them get in the way, we can get to bigger work, the inner work or the emotional work or the work, the spiritual work, the stuff that is a little bit more in depth. But this is perfect things to practice on, perfect things to be mindful with, perfect things to practice. Just shifting and changing for yourself, the reframing of how you see these things. These are perfect things to practice with, so that when we get to the other things, we're kind of well versed and familiar with the process that works for us. So we are going to get going today for tapping on doing the dishes. So for me personally, I hate the dishes. I really dislike the dishes. I have zero patience sometimes when it comes to doing the dishes, only because I know that if I do the dishes, I'm going to have to turn around and do the dishes again. And so it's a never ending thing. It's something that never stays clean. And so sometimes I feel that judgment or that guilt or that irritation and pissed off anger around having to do these dishes because um, or the way that I do the dishes sometimes is in conflict with the way that my husband does the dishes. I mean, this is a hilarious thing, but it is true. I am fortunate enough to have a husband who will do the dishes, and dare I say, he enjoys doing them a little bit, but um, he does them very differently. We do things very, very differently in many ways, but the dishes is one of those things. So I would like, I've had to learn to do them my own way, to release the judgment, to not give a shit how he does them, or not to feel like I'm doing them the wrong way or he's doing them the wrong way. And, for me personally, I can live with having a dirty dishes area for a little bit. That doesn't bother me, only because I know that I'm going to have to turn around and do them again. They're never ending. So for me, some days it's a matter of just whatever. It is what it is, and I'll get to them when I get to them. Other days, not so much. And so before we start our first round, I'd like you to just tune in and see how this resonates with you. What do you feel about doing the dishes? How do you come at doing the dishes? We might not think about these things sometimes, right? We might not think about, well, what is our energy? What is our mood? What are we thinking? What are we feeling when we come to do the dishes? But it is, in one sense, like I said, it kind of can compound whatever is hanging over our head already. Um, but also, we can see, I mean, we'll get to this later, but we can see that there's kind of this space where doing the dishes is such an automatic thing that we could maybe use this time to think and feel and, be in our own space and in our own mind a little bit differently as we approach doing the dishes. And so, we'll get to that, but I want you to first take a look at, even just taking a minute and just being like, okay, what do I hate about the dishes? What do I hate about doing the dishes? I get pissed off, I get irritable. Maybe you just hear or feel a sensation in your body where you're like, I kind of get this growly feeling because I know that it's never ending. I know that it's never ending. And so instead of, trying to keep up on a never ending task, it takes some time to let it go. But sometimes we can't let it go. We need to control it. What does that feel like? Is there control attached to doing the dishes? Does it bring up a feeling of it needs to be done a certain way? There needs to be a certain, dynamic to it. Are we able to ask for help and support in that area? Or does our control and management style not allow for support? Just really tuning in and just taking a nice gentle breath. And it's like something as simple as the dishes can teach us so much about ourselves. It's hilarious, but it's true. So just tuning in on a scale of 0 to 10. How much do you hate doing the dishes? 10 being severely hate doing the dishes. They're absolutely like you would rather throw them off the balcony and use them as target practice. Or 0 meaning it doesn't really matter to you all that much. It's no big deal. You're kind of probably even neutral, or maybe you like it. And just keeping in mind too that as your mood shifts and change, this number is going to shift and change. So the way you feel about doing the dishes is probably going to shift and change as your mood shifts and changes. Different days, different moods, different level of activity going on around you. This is a big thing for me. I don't mind doing the dishes as long as I'm not being interrupted every 5 freaking seconds. That really irritates me, and that's something that themes through a lot of things in my life. I don't mind doing a lot of things in my life, but if I get distracted or interrupted, that distraction and the interruption is what really sets me off sometimes. So taking that into consideration, and maybe that is a time, doing the dishes is a time when you get interrupted and distracted a lot. And maybe you have a dishwasher. We have a dishwasher. We don't use it all the time. I use it more. My husband hates it, but again, he does the dishes, so I don't care. So maybe that's helpful for you, but maybe that loading and unloading the dishwasher creates a little bit of angst in your day. It's another thing you got to do. Sometimes you forget to do it. Shit. No clean dishes, and then you have to wash them by hand. Whatever it is that comes up for you, just sit with that for a minute. And we're going to do a quick round of tapping and venting. So we're going to vent out all the things that we hate about the dishes, and we're just going to kind of let it fly. Don't hold back. So if you're coming back to this video on a replay and you would like to put into the comments how you feel, please do so. Or you can take out the words that I'm using, the description words or the feeling words, and you can put in your own. And don't hold back. This is a big thing. I know I'm already 10 minutes into the video and we haven't even started tapping yet, but we will. I want you to really don't hold back. Complain about this. Vent it out and let yourself feel those emotions and release those emotions as you are expressing them. That's what tapping is beautiful for. So we're going to start by tapping on the side of the hand. And if you've never tapped with me before or tapped at all before, just follow along. Tap on the points that I'm tapping on and say and repeat after me. So say, even though dishes are a part of my life, I really friggin' hate them. I don't want to do them anymore. I'm so done with dishes. And I can love and accept how I feel about this right now. Even though dishes are a part of life, I get super irritated and pissed off with them. They take up a lot of time. And I don't have a lot of time. And I'd like to love and accept myself about this anyway. Even though dishes are a part of being a mom, I have to do them all the time. But I really don't like to. It takes up too much of my time. And time is something that I don't really have. And so I get mad and irritated about doing the dishes. And I'd like to honor how I feel about this right now. And we're going to move to the top of the head, tapping gently and say, I really don't have time for the dishes. Eyebrow point. I really don't want to do them anymore. Side of the eye. I'm so sick and tired of washing dishes. Underneath the eye. They are a never-ending to-do. Underneath the nose. And I'm so sick and tired of doing the dishes. Underneath the mouth. I could ask somebody else to do them. Collarbone point, but then that's a fight too. Underneath the arm. So I just do the dishes myself. Underneath the chest. I just suck it up and do them myself. Wrist points. It's easier just to do them myself. Top of the head. All of these dishes that I have to do. Eyebrow point every single friggin' day. Side of the eye. I think nobody wants to help me with this. Underneath the eye. And it's too much of a fight to ask. Underneath the nose. I wish it was easier for somebody else to do this for me. Underneath the mouth. And even if I hired somebody to do this for me, collarbone point, I feel guilty. Underneath the arms, I feel less than. Underneath the chest, I feel like I wasn't doing my job. Just points, I would feel incompetent. Top of the head, maybe I feel lazy. Eyebrow point. So it's lose, lose, lose. Side of the eye. I'll just keep on doing the friggin' dishes. Underneath the eye. Even though I don't want to. Underneath the nose. It really sucks to have to do all these dishes. Underneath the mouth. But I guess that's part of the job. Collarbone point. I wonder if I have to keep doing it this way though. Underneath the arm. It's so simple, but it's such a pain in the ass. Underneath the chest. So I wonder if there is a different way to feel about doing the dishes. Wrist points. I wonder if I could reframe this responsibility today. Top of the head. And I'm curious about what that would be like. Okay, so take a breath, take a sip of water, coffee, whatever you have. Of course, I would spill it. So again, just noticing what's come up with that. And maybe you need to do another venting round. Maybe you got really heated about doing the dishes and you're not ready to change it. You're like, no, there's no point in there is no way to do this differently. This is part of life. This is it. This is done. And just really tap on those parts, redo this, pause this, redo that round again, and get really dramatic with it. Be like, this is the way life is. There is no other way. Really let yourself feel how you feel. Let yourself express that, how you feel it. We can use this as an outlet, really, because it's such a simple, basic thing, but it can bring up so many different kinds of emotions and thoughts and sensations in the body. And then we can tap on those and we can direct it at the dishes and not at the thing behind the thing, which is the next round that we're going to get into, because we there's usually a reason why. Like, I mean, there's the control, there's the how we manage it, there's the things that we like to have done in a particular way. And so that delegating things is not easy. And so I want to share a little thing about this that is really helpful for me. It has been really helpful for me. And it's from Kate Northrup's book called Do Less. And sorry, just one quick second. I sorry. It's my son's birthday tomorrow. My husband is grabbing some things for that in town, but I don't want what he's asking if I want. So anyway, so that's again perfect example. There is he's helping out, but there's something specific that I want to do. And so I'm going to have to do it my way. But it's how I approach that. I'm not going to sit there and think, oh, well, shit, like he's not being supportive. He's not doing a good job. He's not doing blah, 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 blah. It's me saying, no, okay, so I want it done a certain way. I'm going to do it a certain way. And so really taking a look at what is the hard part about delegating these kinds of things to our kids and our family, our spouses, if we have. How can we release that control? How can we release that management, the way that we manage our house? How can we allow other people in to help it? So Kate Northrup, this is where I was going with that. This is why I was looking at my phone. She has a book, and I have it here on my phone that I just pulled up for this tapping. And so, yes, her book, Do Less, A Revolutionary Approach to Motherhood. Is this what it is? To time and energy management for busy moms. Okay. So anyway, she's got a section in there about streamlining your to-do list. And she talks about ditching things. So really taking a look at your to-do list and is there anything that you can ditch? Like, are we chasing little fires or are we chasing smoke? Are we chasing something that really doesn't actually need to be done right now? And we can just friggin' let it go. Just ditch it. Next, can we delegate it to someone? So is it something that we can ask somebody else to do and really practice detaching from the way that they do it? Can we practice letting somebody else do it in their own way and not having to have it done our way? Can we practice that with this? Can we practice that with the dishes or loading and unloading the dishwasher? The other thing, which is a really interesting thing to think about for this kind of topic, is can we delegate it to the divine? Can we give it up to God, basically? And I think that's really interesting because it kind of ties into how do we approach the subject? How do we approach the action? How do we approach this doing the dishes, right? So can we shoot a little message into the air or shoot a little intention out and say, I really would just like to be able to do this peacefully, quietly, easily, without interruption, without being burdened with everything else that's going on right now. Can I release the resistance around this? God, angels, universe, can you help me release the resistance and the tension that I am feeling as I go to do the dishes today? I mean, it's super, super simple and basic, but it's super, super powerful. But there's usually what I was talking about before was the thing behind the thing. So our need to control something, our need to manage it, our need to have it done a certain particular way means that this is not necessarily about the dishes themselves. It's about something underlying, right? And so we're going to just do some general tapping around any underlying things, the thing behind the thing, It's not actually the dishes, it's actually about our control. It's not actually about the dishes, and it's actually about feeling unsupported, right? It's not actually about the dishes, it's about being interrupted. Okay, so we're going to start on the side of the hand and say, even though the dishes are not really that exciting, they are a boring, basic part of life. Some days I really get triggered by this. And I'm curious to know if there's anything deeper behind it. Even though the dishes are a boring, basic part of everyday life, some days they stir up a lot of shit. Maybe this isn't actually about dishes. And I'm curious what that means. And I love and accept myself and whatever comes up now. Especially because dishes are so simple. Some days I don't understand why I get so triggered. And I'm curious if there is another meaning behind this. And as I love and accept what comes up today, I think I might be ready to look at what the thing behind the thing is. Going to the top of the head now and say, maybe the dishes aren't the dishes. Eyebrow point. Maybe I'm pissed off and irritated because nobody's helping me. Side of the eye. I feel so unsupported. Underneath the eye. I feel overlooked. Underneath the nose. What I do in a day goes unappreciated. Underneath the mouth. Maybe this is why I hate the dishes so much. Collarbone point. And I forgive myself for believing that it has to stay this way. Underneath the arms. Maybe the dishes really trigger my control. Underneath the chest. I can't ask other people to do the dishes for me. Wrist points, because I won't do it right. Top of the head, and I'll have to do it again. Eyebrow point. It's a whole big waste of freaking time. Side of the eye. So it's better that I just do them myself. Underneath the eye. Man, I hate being so controlling. Underneath the nose. I really notice this when it comes to the dishes. Underneath the mouth. I'd really like to just let this go. Collarbone point. And when I'm ready, maybe I can. Underneath the arms. I forgive myself for making the dishes seem so big. Underneath the chest. But I give myself permission. Wrist points. To use the dishes as an outlet and an example. Top of the head. Maybe the dishes can help me unravel some of this shit. Eyebrow point. I'm curious about what that might mean. Side of the eye. Especially when I'm doing the dishes. Underneath the eye. I get distracted and interrupted. Underneath the nose. I'm curious what that means. underneath the mouth. I'm curious if I can take a look at what's behind that. Collarbone point. All of these different meanings underneath the arms. All of these different things that dishes bring up underneath the chest. It's interesting that these things would come up with the dishes. Where's points? But it's kind of neat because it's so simple and basic. Top of the head. And I'm curious how I could reframe this today. Okay, take a gentle breath. Sip of water or coffee. And just sit with what comes up. Maybe something completely different comes up, and again, share in the comments. I'd love to hear. What are dishes being the front of? What are they fronting you for? Right? Is it control? Is it feeling unsupported or unappreciated, disrespected, interrupted, distracted? You know, what do the dishes represent? You know, what do the dishes bring up for you? Maybe I know for me sometimes doing the dishes actually is a little bit of a reprieve. It's a way for me to kind of step away, especially for like family dinners and stuff like that, or special occasions. It's a way for me to step back and step out of being around a lot of energy. And so it can get really triggering sometimes when I am trying to kind of withdraw and zone out a little bit, doing the dishes, being automatic, just being lost in my own mind. And when the kids or people are like chatting at me, I'm just like, I hate the dishes. And we just take it out on the dishes, which is not a bad thing. I mean, the dishes are, like I said, I mean, it could turn into target practice, but I mean, it's a very benign thing to use as an outlet for this kind of work. So anyway, the next step, we're going to do one more quick round about reframing. So reframing the responsibilities. I think, you know, this is bringing up so much stuff from when I was, you know, a stay-at-home mom with my kids when they were little, like they were toddlers. They were both toddlers. And I had a laundry list, like a huge to-do list of things that I needed to get done around the house and the home. And I had no energy to do any of those things. You know, and the kids on top of that, right? The kids were always needing something, or they were very young. So it was that time of my life where I was feeling very stretched and very thin. So one of the people, again, another resource that you can take a look at was Danielle Laporte. And I can't remember whereabouts I found this. It might have been in her Desire Map book. Or it might have been in White Hot Truth, because that one I really loved, White Hot Truth, her book White Hot Truth. But anyway, it was all about reframing the responsibilities. So, and I applied this to other things, and you will be hearing me talk about this reframing the responsibility in other tapping sessions along with other topics on to-do list stuff. But it's really about reframing how we approach the dishes, right? So yes, we know that there's other stuff going on. There's the thing behind the thing. There is initial. It doesn't have to mean anything. We just really hate the dishes. It's just taking up a part of our time. It's just a never-ending thing to do. So why do we bother even doing it? But we need to have it clean because otherwise we get super, you know, cranky, right? There's like a lot of that goes into it like that. But if we can take a moment to reframe how we would like to approach the dishes. So how would you like to do the dishes? And this is really interesting. I've done this in the past, but just recently started doing this again, is using the dishes as a meditation, right? So really just being able to zone out, zone in to, you know, I'm doing something, but it's like a moving meditation, right? And so what I've been practicing with the dishes lately is actually, because it's not, I want to try to get more out of my mind and more into my body. It's like while I'm doing the dishes, I am feeling the water in my hands. I'm feeling the heat. I'm feeling the bubbles. I'm feeling the cloth or the sponge or the brush, whatever I might be using. I am feeling each dish in my hand. Oh, my knees are getting sore. I'm sitting weird on my ankle. Like I've noticed this when I'm standing to do the dishes. I will tilt my ankle or I will tilt my foot out to the side. So it's like I'm sitting on the very outside edge of my foot. I'm like, why am I doing this? But it's all just to get more aware of what's going on in our body, and using the dishes as a way to do that is it's a really neat example to do it. So what if you could reframe how you come at doing the dishes, right? And so I did this when I was with the kids a lot when they were really young, because it's like these things that just always have to get done, but they fucking suck. And I just was feeling overexerted, and stretched out to the max, right? But if I didn't do these things, what would happen? You know, if I didn't do the dishes and I let the sink pile up, it would be hard on me. It would probably be a health hazard at some point. There would cause because there would be some relationship tension. There would be more chaos. It would be added chaos and disorganization, so that things wouldn't flow freely to me. So coming at it from that angle, I don't want to do that. I don't want to leave the dishes. I don't want, so my tune kind of changes where I'm like, okay, well, I'm a little bit softer about the dishes now. I'm a little bit more gentle about doing the dishes. I know that it's necessary, and I can maybe reframe it so that this is like taking a tiny little break. It's not self-care, but it's taking like a basic break, right? The other thing that for moods, energy. Our energy plays a lot into this. So there are dishes in my sink right now, and I'm like, I just cannot wait. For some reason, whatever reason, I was really inspired to hop on here first thing this morning and get this video done. And so I left the dishes. That's fine. I'll go and do them after I'm doing this, and I'll have the energy to do it because I will have done what I have wanted to do. I will have prioritized myself and my inspiration and my creativity first, and I will be more fulfilled, and I will be able to do the dishes with more neutrality. They won't bother me. They won't be depleting me. They won't be taking away from anything. So really pay attention to your moods. You might feel like you don't want to touch the dishes, and you'll be like, oh, I'm such a horrible housekeeper. I'm such a horrible mom. Like, I'm not touching the dishes. But if you surrender to that and be like, I just don't want to do them right now, and you allow yourself to not do them, chances are 99% of the time, you're going to give yourself those moments to do maybe something completely different. Maybe you're going to have a nap on the couch. Maybe you're just going to forget about them, and then you'll be like, oh, I need to do the dishes. And then there will be no angst, no resistance, no tension. Pay attention to your energy when it comes to these little things. It's like huge. This is like the basics of energy management. What I absolutely love to speak about, especially for stay-at-home moms, especially if you have little kids. Go with the flow of your energy. Don't try to time block shit. If you don't have the energy to do something, you're going to hate doing it. But if you give yourself a minute, give yourself an hour, give yourself a break, give yourself permission to say, I'm not ready to do that right now. I know they're going to get done, but right now is not the time for it. Do what feels best for you at that moment. It's going to fill you up quick. It's going to give you energy, and then you're going to be able to go and do these mundane, boring things with less tension and tightness. So I'm going to stop on that because I could go forever. You're going to be hearing more about this because there's a lot of things on Everyday Mom Life that we can really reframe. We can really practice this approach of energy management with, but we want to reframe doing the dishes. So what if we could do the dishes and feel neutral? What if we could do the dishes and make it like a moving meditation? What if we could do the dishes and give ourselves a chance to breathe? It's not self-care necessarily, but it's like a basic break. It's a very basic, simple break. It doesn't have to mean anything. It doesn't have to be fancy. Maybe we're going to buy some nice soap. Maybe we're going to buy a nice cloth. Maybe we're going to set up a nice little area. I don't know. Maybe you're going to put a plant or watch something or listen to something while you're doing the dishes that will also assist in, creating this time for you and making it a little better, right? So let's tap on the side of the hand and say, even though dishes are not the best thing in the world, I feel like I have untangled some extra stuff today. And maybe I'm ready to reframe the way that I approach dishes. And I love and accept what I have uncovered today. Even though doing the dishes is super basic. Right now, maybe I feel super neutral and indifferent about it. And that's perfectly okay. And I love and accept where I am right now. Even though dishes can cause a lot of chaos, both in my inner world and my outer world. That's okay. They are a good reminder when I need to look at something more deeply, or when I just need to disengage from everything and find some neutral common ground. And I love and accept all of these things that I have uncovered today. Top of the head. Maybe I'm ready to do the dishes without tension. Eyebrow point. I think I'm ready to do the dishes without tension. Side of the eye. I think I can use the dishes as taking a little break. Underneath the eye. I'm ready to breathe deeper when I'm doing the dishes. Underneath the nose. I can't wait to do the dishes and listen to a podcast. Underneath the mouth. I can't wait to do the dishes so that I can listen to something or watch something on my phone. Collarbone point. Maybe the dishes aren't so bad after all. Underneath the arm. And maybe I'm ready to do the dishes in a different way today. Underneath the chest. I wonder what I need in order to do the dishes differently today. Wrist points. How can I make doing the dishes more special to me? Top of the head. I think it's time for me to dress up doing the dishes. Eyebrow point. I'm ready to create a nice little space while I do the dishes. Side of the eye. Doing the dishes gives me peace of mind. Underneath the eye. Doing the dishes helps me breathe deeper. Underneath the nose. Doing the dishes helps me organize my thoughts. Underneath the mouth. As I'm washing the dishes clean, I am getting more clarity. Collarbone point. I'm gaining more understanding. Underneath the arms. Or I'm just taking a very much needed basic break. Okay. Take a nice gentle breath. Check in and see on a scale of 0 to 10, how high do you hate the dishes? Like, how much do you hate the dishes? What is the new feeling, new thought, or new sensation in your body about the dishes? So I can tell you right now, I don't feel a goddamn thing about the dishes, so that's good. It's very neutral, and sometimes that's just where we want to be, right? We don't want it to take anything from us. We don't want it to deplete our energy anymore. We don't want it to contribute to the cloud that's hanging over us and all the shitstorm that's going on and all the chaos. And it's really actually creating a little bit more organization. It's creating more cleanliness. within our home, but also within our mind, right? So if we see clutter, we feel cluttered. And so if we have the dishes done, it's all nice for the minute, for the moment. And that's another thing too. Maybe I'll incorporate that into something else, but like that never ending, like the dishes are never ending. So being okay with, for the 5 minutes that there are no dirty dishes, that's a beautiful 5 minutes. That's a magical 5 minutes, right? And then when we have to do them again, we have, different ways of thinking about it, different ways of approaching it. So I hope this was helpful. I'm surprised. 40 minutes on tapping on dishes. Wow. So that's just me too. I'm a chatter. So let me know how this landed for you guys. Let me know if there's anything that came up. Of course, if there's any deeper things that come up, around control, around being unsupported, around being, interrupted all the time and having that pressure and tension, physical sensations, beliefs that might have even come up because we're using the dishes as a very gentle example, simple example to bring up things that we're carrying within us. So you can go ahead and book a free session with me. We can try this out. We can really dig into what has come up. I'm offering free sessions to try out tapping and working with me. No strings attached, but it's I really would love to have more moms try tapping just to see how we can make your day feel a little bit less pressure, a little less tight, how we can make you feel a little more comfortable and a little bit more at ease with everyday mom life. So I look forward to hearing from you, and we'll chat with you guys again soon. Thanks. Bye.